Craig Pierce, 39 Camden Place, representing myself and Neighborhoods First. Congratulations to all of you being elected or re-elected to the council. Neighborhoods First is here today to again point out that no response in writing has been forthcoming from the city attorney, Miles Risley, to our request for an opinion on the legality of the October 14th passage of the funding mechanism for the annexation. We did receive a response to our request for information regarding the source of the funding and revenue figures being used to justify the annexation. They revealed that the projected revenues of $23 million over 15 years were based on annexing and taxing all of the wind turbines in the total footprint originally proposed by Apex, including land not even part of the annexation. The projected infrastructure costs of $13 million, however, are only projected for what is now known as Phase 1. These costs would likely double if there was a second annexation. The recent issuing of the Evans report not only clarified that there was no interference with television or radio transmission, but also stated that Apex no longer plans to build wind turbines in the newly annexed area. If this holds true, and given the lack of assurance that a second annexation could even pass, the certificates of obligation will be completely dependent on payment from the general fund, contrary to the last council's stated intent. The situation then would be that the general fund would back the certificates of obligation and pay for all other services. In the new figures provided under a Freedom of Information request, fire department costs for 10 years are projected at $15.8 million for equipment and personnel, with an additional capital investment of $2.1 million for the new station. There are also additional policing costs projections of $2.9 million. These costs obviously were not included in the first estimate of $13 million. Given the loss of projected funding from the wind turbines, the general fund will be tapped for the initial $13 million plus all present and future services. It is entirely foreseeable that there will never be any revenues returned to the general fund. As it now stands, the fund will be a constant drain on the general fund, with no revenue return to the citizens. To sum up, based on wildly exaggerated revenue and hugely underestimated expenses, you members of the last council, with the exception of Chad McGill, annexed land claiming it would benefit all the citizens of Corpus Christi. Now your funding sources outside of the general fund have dried up. So have your claims that the annexation would not cost but benefit the citizens. And your decision itself is subject to legal challenge. Do what's right for the citizens you represent. De-annex this land. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce. You can stay right there for just a minute. We have a response for clarification by Mr. Olson, our city manager.
Mayor, I just wanted to clarify the role of the city attorney. Mr. Pierce indicated that they requested a legal opinion from the city attorney. The city attorney does not provide legal opinions to citizens. He works for the city council through my administration and provides legal opinions as requested to the elected officials and to the city operations. So I would not expect that he would respond to a citizen's request for a legal opinion. I would also add that legal opinions have gone from the city attorney's office to the city council as you are making the decisions that you are making on the annexation. And Mr. Risley can speak to that if he wishes, but the council has received all of the advice, legal advice necessary in making that decision. And by implication, the fact that the council moved forward with the decision is indication that the legal opinions found that it was legal to do so.
Thank you. Mr. Pearson, did you want to address the other projections in the numbers?
No, just the observation.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Wes Pearson.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you. We have Mr. Pierce and we have Mr. Pearson.
You can be me any day. We did submit to them for the open records request process our estimates. We stand by our estimates. I think there's a difference of opinion that they're expressing, and it's different than ours. But we are confident in the numbers that we are projecting on both the cost side of things as well as the revenue side. just to clarify, one of the positions that Mr. Pierce explained is that the revenues that they may have seen in the projections aren't sufficient. And what's interesting about the revenues that he saw is that revenue projection was only associated with the annexation of the wind farm project. So it didn't take into account any revenues projected, because we were trying to be super conservative, any revenues projected related to property tax growth based on growth in that area.
Thank you very much. Thank you both. Mr. Risley.
Just to address the statements by the person making comments to the council, I would like to point out that we have responded to the council, but for the benefit of the new city council members, we did review his complaint thoroughly. And in fact, I have one of my attorneys who has previously spent many, many years at the Attorney General's office investigating this very type of complaint. And none of us saw any indication in the documents that were presented that any of the actions performed by City Council violated the Open Meetings Act in any way.
Thank you, Mr. Risley. Do we have anyone else here for public comment?